It's time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing, episode number 42. We're recording this live between Asif and myself on September 11th, 2011. My name, of course, Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv. You can find me at Rob Woodbridge on Twitter. And with me, as always, from Toronto, Ontario, Canada,
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association. And you can find me at the LBMA or at Asif R. Khan.
You have two. I got to come up with a second one.
I got two, yeah.
I suppose you can follow at Untether, but you're just going to get the same stuff as me. Asif, we were talking about this right before we went live, September 11th, one of these, seminal days, I think, in world history. 10 years ago today, obviously, it changed the world for a lot of us, a lot of businesses, a lot of people, soldiers, politicians, countries, nations, leaders. So we thought we would commemorate this by giving a brief overview of where I was and where Asif was when we heard the news. So mine's really simple. I was at a Tim Hortons at an Esso station, actually. At Bank in Gladstone here in Ottawa, and I was driving in my car, and I just heard about the first one, and I was absolutely stunned. And that's my story. I wish it was a little bit more interesting, but I was a young pup of, I think, 31 years old back then, and shocking, absolutely shocking. But I was at an Esso station picking up a cup of coffee, of all things. Tim Hortons.
Yeah, well, I was hard at work, and I was working for a little startup run by a guy named Ed Rogers, who's one of the sons of Ted Rogers, of Rogers fame. And we were housed inside a bunker underneath Sky Dome at the time. And so we were all at work, and we had a TV in the office, and all of a sudden somebody, I guess, was listening to the internet radio or something, and heard the news and said, we just dropped everything and all went to the TV, and it was crazy. And then maybe about, it couldn't have been more than 15, 20 minutes after the second tower got hit, we got the evacuation notice, because the Sky Dome is directly beside the CN Tower, and they thought both were going to be high value targets, and we had to get out of the city. So we were all gone. But that's where I was.
Pretty amazing. And then, of course, I spent the next 24 or 36 hours, like the rest of the world, kind of glued to the television, so I did not move. Canceled all my meetings and basically tuned into CNN and watched it, and as I did today as well, for a good part of the afternoon, just kind of reliving that over 10 years. So, brutal, but we're doing this anyways, and to everybody out there who is commemorating this day as well, obviously everybody in North America is thinking about this, and
yes,
probably around the world at the same time. I have to say, though, that speaking of the CN Tower, here's my ungraceful way of changing topics. I just came back from 4 days in Toronto, and I'm angry about this, Asif. I'm angry about this. You know what that is? I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
I'm angry that I had a good time in Toronto.
Oh.
It is against my religion to say that, because I'm from Ottawa. But Toronto, what a great city for families, and for a great opportunity to get away from our small city, go to Toronto. There are things to do every day, everywhere. Had a great time, including visiting that CN Tower, watching the Jays. The Jays beat the Red Sox, and really the zoo, Center Island. Man, had a wonderful time. Damn you, Toronto. That's all I'm going to say.
All
right. So big week, obviously, in what we're doing here in the location-based world. Let's start off. You've got an event that you're actually going to be at this coming week on Thursday.
Yeah. So this Thursday, there's a conference called GOM. It's the second year. It's in Boston, run by High Start Group and Alan and Garrettson. And, just a great event, great lineup, speakers from Nearverse, Where, Untapped, Moment Feed, myself, a great little lineup they've put together. Obviously, Mike Schneider and crew over there, or Schneider Mike, as he prefers to be known, have put together a phenomenal group there. So, yeah, if you can make it, Boston, this Thursday, contact me if you want, and we got discount codes, or just follow us on Twitter, and you'll see all the stream about it. So, anyhow, GOM 2.
That's on Thursday in Boston.
Yeah,
I'd love to make it out there, but it's tough. But hopefully I'll get to some event at some point, or host an event that you're speaking at, Asif, so at least we can do this somehow live together. Well, this episode number 42, what we're going to be talking about here, it's all over the map, literally. Pun intended. We got some interesting talk around TelMap. We've got some stuff around cigarette smoking and QR codes, which I'm sure will elicit a debate. Shop text and AOL, BP, which is another interesting story. We're going to talk about BP and their retail play, as well as, let's talk about the future of radio. All that, bunch of acquisitions, great resource and a good product. So let's get things going right away. Our first story, which is the most subdued of the stories. We're going to get through this so we can get to the second story right away. But not to be tarnished, which is, let's talk about TelMap and their location-aware coupons.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously coupons, daily deals, all that. It's been going on for a while. It's nothing new.
I've never heard of this stuff. What?
Yeah. Nothing new here. What's new here is that TelMap, big player from the old guard of GIS and navigation, getting into location-aware restaurant coupons in particular. And it's in partnership with a group called REST, which is Israel's leading restaurant guide, along with the Yellow Pages in Israel. So this is, a big Israeli play. And so they baked in this functionality into something called the Navigator GPS Plus, which is a TelMap product, and delivering standard coupons. But, what's nice here is that, the content is there. They're not trying to source the content themselves. They ain't building their own sales force. Like our good friends at Groupon, who continue to lose money hand over fist. They're going out and partnering with Yellow Pages and partnering with REST, guys who have content and guys who have sales teams, and getting it done.
So the big thing for me here is I like this, and we're gonna talk about the radio play in a second as well. But and we're also going to talk about TelNav, not to be mistaken with TelMap.
Yes.
But what I really like about this is, I think a natural spot for all this information is on your dash. And, when eventually we've got kind of the forward sync technology in every car, and it's being fed, it's smart, it's hands-free, it's not on the device, it's in the dash. How many times are you driving down the highway looking for some food, looking for incentive? I like this play. I do. I can't help but think that there's a natural location for these kind of coupons, and that's in the dash. And TelMap, I think, has a good opportunity, and I think TelNav as well, to really own this stuff and get it this commodity and just get it done. Okay, that's done. Let's move on to some innovation, right? Yeah,
and it's just nice to see mature players coming together and cooperating and getting stuff done. I mean, and these are guys. All these guys have been around for a while. I mean, REST, the restaurant guide there in Israel, 13 years in business. 60,000 active users, 1.25 million users, hitting the website every month. I mean, lots going on.
Big guys. So that's TelMap. I like this play. I think it's a natural evolution for these guys, and it's like traffic was for most of these guys like a couple of years ago. Real-time traffic. Now it's just, okay, coupons. Get over it. Coupons are done. Say goodbye to Groupon and move on, right?
Yep.
Okay. Second story. This is interesting. I get a little excited about this conversation, right? Because Ronhill, cigarettes and QR codes.
Yeah.
The first time I thought about this was like, okay, in Canada, I don't smoke, so I don't have a pack, but we have in Canada, 2/3 of our cigarette packages are covered with cancerous lungs, right?
Yes.
Or hearts that have been, the impact of smoking on your heart, and it's got a picture of, basically a charcoal heart, and that's what we have in Canada. So when I heard this, I thought, okay, this is a good way of doing it. A little bit more information, but what is Ronhill doing?
So first of all, for the viewers out there and listeners out there, Ronhill is a cigarette company, part of something called the TDR Group, and these guys are based in Croatia. So this is a whole, as we said at the beginning, we're going around the globe today.
Yep.
This is in Croatia.
All over the map.
And what they've done is they've put QR codes on the cigarette packages, and you scan this QR code, and what it does is it brings up a map, relative to your position, and it shows you where places are that you can actually go to smoke your cigarettes. Okay, because obviously a lot of places ban cigarette smoking. So these guys have actually built a map of places where cigarette smoking is allowed, and deliver that to you on a location-based map based on your presence, when you scan this QR code. Smart, great, just great innovative thinking. Now, I mean, neither of us smoke cigarettes, so not something that we could use, but the premise is there in terms of delivering content, that's relative. We talk about relevance all the time. This is relevance to me if you're a cigarette smoker.
100%. I mean, it's absolutely a unique way of using QR codes or location, and you're talking to a captive, quite literally, audience. And so I was a smoker. I quit a long time ago, 12 years or so, and 12 years, 14 days, 7 hours, and 32 minutes. I know the seconds as well. So I never had to live through this kind of draconian age of non-smoking, right? Where you weren't allowed to smoke in restaurants, you're not allowed to smoke in bars, you can't smoke within 100 feet of the buildings, that kind of stuff. So I can understand the relevance of this. So you're right, purely targeting an audience, brilliant, right? We don't condone this, smoking at any age, but in terms of understanding your audience and their needs, they pretty much nailed it.
Yeah.
But what could they have done? And this is what we should have. What could they have done that's different? Is this the perfect thing that a pack of cigarettes should offer? Is it?
Well, it's better than a deal. I'll tell you that.
2 for 1. Get your kids hooked.
Get 20% off when you buy 3 packs. Yeah. Here you go.
So I was thinking. Okay. So how could this really help? So the balance, you've got to balance this out, right? As I said, in Canada, they got these packages that have, cancerous lungs, and as a result of smoking. And I was thinking, okay, we have very strict age laws in Canada and in the United States around how old you can be when you smoke. I think it's 19 in Canada. If you're not 19, they'll card you. And even if you're over 19 and you look younger, they'll card you. All the cigarettes are actually behind encasements. You can't even, they're not even see-through. They're actually locked up and closed. You can't see the cigarettes, but they're still behind the counters. So I was thinking, what could you use a phone for and a QR code and when somebody's smoking? So think about it. If somebody scans the QR code, that phone has all your information, the personal information about you, your age, your demographic. So it'd be really interesting to gather that. But even more interesting would be to say, listen, that pack of cigarettes was bought from that location, and this person who actually owns his phone is 14. Go and find that guy who sold that pack of cigarettes to that 14-year-old. How's that?
There you
for
go.
Good use.
There you go. Or here's another one for you. Scan the QR code, and for this is for the guy who wants to quit now.
Yeah.
There you go. Here is you in augmented reality, not smoking.
Nice.
Here's you in real life. No, just kidding. Yeah. Anyways,
you could definitely do that, and I mean, I quit smoking using something called LifeSign, and this was one of the very first little computers. It was no bigger than an iPhone, and basically it was one button. Talk about ease and simplicity. They had it beat before the iPhone was ever created. So this is in '99, and it was like late one night. I saw it on a commercial, a 38-minute infomercial. Bought it that night and quit smoking using it, and actually quit smoking twice using it. But it's a button in the middle that just says, push here when you smoke, and then for 7 days it monitors how many cigarettes you smoke, and then on the 8th day it tells you when to smoke, and then it's a cessation program all the way down. That is something that I love the targeted nature of this QR code and the way they're doing it. But there has to be a balance on this, and in order to satisfy a lot of people and bring that into North America, you have to offer that counterbalance, which is, okay, so you can go and smoke over here, or you can go around the corner and quit smoking because at this acupuncture or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So I think this is okay for Croatia. It would never fly here in North America.
No, definitely not.
It's such a polarizing story. It's one of these things. It's like porn. Do you bring it on? Do you talk about it when it's influencing everybody, or do you just kind of let it go? And in this instance, Ronhill adds a location-based QR code. When you scan, it tells you where the closest opportunity for you to smoke is. We'll put it that way. Neat, but terrible. But targeted, but innovative, but terrible.
Good.
Don't smoke, kids. Third story. This is again kind of a quick story. Shop text getting into bed with what is this? This is AOL shortcuts. So let's context here, Asif.
Yeah, so they're claiming, I have no way to validate this, but they're claiming that this is the first national mobile, so national, this is US we're talking about, mobile to loyalty card coupon network. Now that's a lot of
know
words
what that means.
together. Mobile to loyalty card coupon network. Okay?
Yeah.
So what is this thing really? This is all about brands and retailers being able to track redemption of coupons. An issue that is a legitimate issue, number one, because we always struggle with a lot of the solutions, a lot of the coupon solutions out there today. Actually tracking redemption is an issue. There's been some attempts at it. This one I think is a good attempt at it because it approaches it from the perspective of going after as many possible mobile users as there is, because they deliver the coupon over SMS.
Yep.
So it reaches all phones, feature phones, and whatnot. They have a dedicated number. So the way this works is retailers and brands come up with whatever the call to action is for this particular campaign, and they leverage that off of their print material or their digital promotion, what have you, and then they basically have people see that offer and then text to a short code, which is 467 and then once they've confirmed the actual users there at that particular location, then the digital coupon is then loaded onto the loyalty card of that user. So what they're doing is this is about validation of user being present at the location in order to actually get the offer, okay? And they're tying it to a physical loyalty card. So the redemption happens when the actual loyalty card for that store is swiped. And this is the Shortcuts piece of it. So Shortcuts has 4,000 partner stores that are inside of their network.
So this is it seems complicated, but I think it's bridging that real to digital back to real and wrapping location around it. And I think that it's probably I would argue that it's probably not the only one, because I know that American Express and a lot of the credit cards who offer loyalty cards as well do this automatically, right?
Right.
So, but shop text.
Yeah, it's the SMS component that makes this a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's that SMS, but then linking to loyalty card, and then obviously all the analytics that come out of that, right? Yeah. In dashboard and be able to track and who's doing what and whatnot. So it's that reporting dashboard, I think, gives us a lot of power.
Well, you know what? It's I like the validation, the location validation piece. I like the fact that they're using SMS. It makes it simple. There's none of this app garbage that you have to download. I don't have to download my 300th barcode scanning app that gives me a discount. So, good on them. And it's not often that you hear something about AOL, but I think that a lot of loyalty companies, so Shortcuts. A lot of loyalty, like WagJag, a lot of these companies, or SwarmJam here in Canada, they can learn from what these guys are doing when it comes to loyalty and engagement, and certainly about showing value. Because I know some of these guys aren't showing as much value as they had hoped. So this is a good way to actually drive in location redemption. I don't know what else to say about that.
No, it's good.
All right. Okay, BP. Story number 4, BP getting in to the daily deal business.
Yeah, I mean, I like this, and I like this because you're talking about big gas company here, British Petroleum, that has thousands and thousands of retail locations out there, and we don't normally, when we think retail, the first thing that jumps into our mind is not gas station retail. But that whole convenience store, gas station market is a huge market when you look at the number of locations. And in terms of packaged goods, brands, products, now we're talking about chocolate bars and pop and CDs and all that kind of stuff that they sell, books and maps and everything else that you can get in the stores these days. there's a lot of product that moves through there, and so basically what this is they're getting into the daily deal business. You know, and maybe at first glance you say, you know, do we need another one? So my answer to that is I'm not sure we need another one, you know, from a single brand. But I also, you know, am starting to think now that, you know, when you look at Groupon, when you look at, you know, some of the daily deals as we had them over the last year, I think that model's failing. We're seeing that, you know, over and over again. And we're seeing the reemergence of the big brand taking ownership of their customers and loyalty.
Yep.
And we just talked about loyalty. So this is interesting.
Well, and it is. And so this is not another app. This is, I mean, you sign up on their website, you offer your email address, they do a mobile optimized website, and you get discounts on their retail goods, which is interesting. Again, on first blush, you'd think it would be about gasoline and gas sales, but you're right. When you think about the locations across the country and around the world that BP actually operates, the retail locations, there's a reason they have all those convenience stores. I still think that if they want to drive foot traffic into these convenience stores, they should just offer normal grocery prices instead of charging up the wazoo out of convenience, right? But
yeah.
Maybe this discount is the beginning of that. But, you know, driving people there as a retail location, you just don't think that people would be that interested in discount Twinkies.
Yeah,
but it's big business.
And you just touched on something. You said maybe it's the beginning of things. And in the article I read, the agency who put this together for them, a British agency called Rockpool Digital, said that this is just that. It's the first step for them in you know, building a two-way communication channel between BP and their customers. You know, it's something they've struggled with, it sounds like, and you know, just being able to increase that user base, being able to have a regular dialogue going on, whether that's through the website or through the mobile device, or you know, tying it all together, I think is important for any brand.
Well, it's definitely a transition. You know, it's funny that. You know, you start to see businesses that you don't normally see, you know, that you assume are in one business, like BP in petroleum, in gas sales, which is their big business. But you see them pivoting a little bit and getting into things like retail. And we've seen this transition for many years, but start to think about the impact of that, you know, big box stores and the transition that retail is having right now. So big box stores getting into clothing. Right, mm-hmm. So and here it's Loblaws having you know, a clothing line called Joe that's in store that is decent quality at good affordable prices, and you start to think about that boxed. And in Canada, it's Canadian Tire that used to be strictly hardware and automotive, and now they're actually selling groceries there as well. So, yeah. And then Rogers, a Canadian carrier here, you know, applying to become a bank. And this all makes sense in the transition. So BP focusing on their retail side, you can see how that at some point you're going to have a big box store wrapped around with a gas station, and could it be BP that you're buying your groceries from, or could it be Walmart serving gas?
It's all about just competition. How do you draw customers to you? I mean, and also, you know, BP in the U.S. I'm not sure you know, what the situation is in the U.K., but in the U.S. anyways, BP gas stations also have free Wi-Fi for the public. Yeah. You know, and again, this is all about, you know, drawing people in, and then you think about that Wi-Fi network, you know, as a potentially a draw. People are on the road, they're on, you know, on a road trip on a highway, and they're like, you know what, I got to stop, I got to check email, I got to do something. I'm going to go to a BP because I know they got free Wi-Fi. And while I'm there, you know, maybe the deal, you know, the mobile optimized site here, you know, that you're a member of, you know, you go in there, they push you the deal, and you know, you just saved, you know, $2 off, you know, Coke and a Mars bar. I don't know.
Well, it's worked for Starbucks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why not BP?
So I like this. I think they're moving in the right direction, and as their agency says, it's the first, you know, step in creating a regular dialogue with their customers.
Well, we should ask Doug Stevens there, the retail prophet, to come on and talk about what this is, how this is going to be impacted. Yeah, I like it. I like this. It's interesting. I love the fact that they are testing these things. And as you said at the beginning, a big company like BP, you don't expect this, but they could use help with their PR, and maybe this is that extent, that, you know, a push into their PR. So last story, again, really interesting story around the National Radio Systems Committee releasing an RFP. And why don't you it's a complicated RFP, but you're a location guy, so you understand this kind of stuff. But this is basically about geolocation and targeting information to you based on your location over the radio waves, right?
Yes. Yeah. So what we're talking about here is I think what I love about this. Let me take one step back. What I love about this is at the heart of the mission of the Location-Based Marketing Association, because it has nothing to do with mobile in the sense that we think of mobile like this device in our hand, per se, a phone. This is about understanding, as we do, that location is all about just where you are at any given time, and that could be your car, that could be your phone, that could be anything that's related to you, and the relationship of things, and the location of those things. And so what's happening here is all the media around us is changing in the sense that it all becomes location aware, whether that's television, where you're consuming television, because obviously you can watch television over the internet now, not necessarily in your home when you're doing that. Radio, you're traditionally sitting in a car, in many cases, and you're moving. And so what we're getting at here is, at the crux of this, is the NRSC is recognizing this, and they're saying, look, we know this location thing is changing, and we have to change with it. And geotagging is the future, as they put it. And they said, look, we put out an RFP. We want companies to come forward who have field tested solutions that radio can leverage, and we want you to submit those by October the 15th. And they threw out some ideas. They said, look, and I'm gonna read from the thing itself here. It said, collecting and disseminating traffic information is the one location-based service that FM analog-based radio data system and HD radio already do fairly well. Yep. But it could be done better. And there are other things out there too, such as highly targeted advertising, pop-up information bubbles, and limited reach public emergency warnings and examples of such services. So they're getting it. They totally get it. I love it. And they're looking for people to come out there and say, hey, we can help with that, and we've got solutions for that.
Yeah, this is so not done over Wi-Fi. This is done over, don't go and spend all that money on that cloud, on the very expensive, network, cell network. This is FM. This is good old FM and
this is good old
HD.
FM.
Yeah, and I like this as well. I mean, it just takes me back to that the Microsoft Watch. Do you remember this? Like, this is an early sense of this. Before, there was kind of ubiquitous everything. It was a watch that communicated over Wi-Fi that gave you weather and news and sports and updates and traffic updates all to your wrist here. And it didn't go anywhere. It was like a $20 a month service for your horoscope, and the watch was like $300. But really, it was done over FM, and it was done over the radio airwaves. And my guess is that there's much more radio waves, and I'm way out of my league here, than there is spectrum available. And it's probably cheaper. It's probably lower quality, lower grade, and you're only going to get text for the most part. But boy.
We talked the other week about internet radio, the Screen Reach and Bauer Media thing, and the same principles apply here with with FM. I mean, the reality is if you're moving and you're listening to a radio station that is delivering local ads, and you're like, let's say you're listening to a New York station and you're in somewhere in Pennsylvania at the time, and you're still picking that up, but that's your station. Maybe at that time you want local ads that are in Pennsylvania and delivered over that, because that's where you are. And so again, it's those kinds of principles about just understanding where people are and delivering them content that's relevant to them, based on that location. So again, it comes back to the same thing at the cigarette discussion: relevancy. Yep. Give me value and give me relevancy, and I'm happy.
Well, I think that this is it's a good step. And maybe radio isn't dead yet, like everybody else has surmises that radio's dead because of the internet radio. But I think that radio is still free. It's ad supported, but it's still free. I still turn on my car, and I can just flip to any radio station that's available. It's still there, and it's not costing me bandwidth or dollars, right? And I think that's it's so relevant. But so if you happen to be out there with this technology that can help these guys, obviously it's field tested, and it's the end of October is the submission of the RFP. You can go to their website and just do a search for National Radio Systems Committee, and you'll find this easily. Yeah, very cool. I like that because of the targeted information. There will be a day where you are going to be driving down the road, and it's going to basically say, "Hey, Rob, we know that you like this. Go here and eat." Or we know that you're with your kids. Right. Go here and eat.
Right.
And it's what we've been talking about. We talked about it during the internet radio. We talked about it everywhere else. I think one of the biggest challenges you can have is the advertiser who's not going to understand that he is actually advertising locally, geographically locally, but it could be he's advertising on a non-local radio station, right? So I could be listening to a New York-based radio station as I'm driving, and I leave the proximity of New York, and I'm not in New York City. I'm in Albany, but I'm still picking up that radio station. And There's a local advertiser that is advertising now on a New York station based on location and proximity. That, I think, is going to mess up the advertisers. So I think there's an education piece before that happens. But that's why we're here.
Anyhow, so if you're listening and you've got a solution out there, get your RFP response in by October 15th.
That's it. TelNav and their restaurant coupons, Ronhill and their cigarettes, their QR codes on cigarette packs that tell you where you can go and have a smoke. ShopText partners with package or shortcuts, AOL shortcuts. BP enters the daily deal market with their retail locations, not gas. And the National Radio Systems Committee is releasing an RFP for some help to help with geolocation and geolocation. National Radio Systems Committee. Those are the 5 stories. They're important.
They are.
All right, let's talk about funding. No big deals in funding, which is fine. I don't think it's an indication of anything, but 2 big buys. One, I don't think that these weren't of high value purchases, but I think that they were very strategic buys that came out of this. Let's talk about TelNav. We brought up TelMap as our first story. Now TelNav acquires a company called Goby.
Yeah, so I mean, Goby's a company that's been around for, I guess, about 2 years now. It's a location-based mobile search engine, find things around you. So, similar in some ways to Where, that eBay bought. All about finding things around you and kind of that explore capability. So not so much focused on deals, focused on finding activities and things to do.
Yeah.
Discovery. And so these guys, like I said, about 2 years old. They've raised a couple $1 million, $2.5 million, I think, last year, and they've been growing at a pretty good clip. The last count I saw that they're supposed to be around 1 million this year at the end of the year in terms of users. So they've got a good user base. They seem to have some good functionality, and this is something TelNav saw some value in, and wanted to grab it. Not a big company, 11 employees.
Yeah, I think this strategically for TelNav. I mean, this is what we've been talking about. These guys are now getting into the game. And this is not going to have a material impact on TelNav's bottom line. I don't think this was a significant buy for Goby, but I think strategically this makes a lot of sense for TelNav because it brings with them, as you said, they're not trying to reinvent somebody else's technology. They're doing what TelMap did, except TelMap just partnered with the rest. But TelNav buying Goby is about discovery, and again, like in-dash this is a battle for in-dash, and in-dash is going to be insane because everybody has one of those things, right? Everybody has a dashboard in a car, and when it comes to discovery, man, there's no better place. I love this buy. And
Goby's one of those companies that got high praise early on. Our good friend Robert Scoble came out and said that this company was going to be more important than Foursquare.
Wow.
So.
Untether is more important than Foursquare, I think. Oh, I mean that affectionately, but I agree with this. Is that discovery like this? iPhone secondary for somebody like TelNav. I honestly believe we're about to witness the biggest battle we've seen in a long time around car makers, and this is in-dash, and it's going to be a very, 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 very.
What I like about so I agree. I think that battle for in-dash is big and it's important, and so I like this deal for them. What I want to see Goby evolve to, though, and others is really trying to understand the intent of the user.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to say, we can help you with discovery. It's another thing to say, we understand you and we understand your intentions, and we can help you that way.
Wow.
So I think there's some work to be done there.
I do too, but
and also and that's why, like, new startups that we've seen, like guys like Forecast, for example, that are supposed to be predicting where we're going next. Those things are really interesting.
I think that with the resources that TelNav has, maybe that's what Goby does. It evolves.
Yeah.
But goodbye. I think we both agree that this is a good acquisition.
Yes.
For TelNav, and I think that we're going to see much more of this when it comes to TelNav and also Telmap in the near future around this. To Asif's words at the beginning of the year, it's just got to happen this way. These guys have got to get into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, speaking of getting in the game, now this might be into the antitrust game very quickly, but Google getting into the acquisition. We know Google's all over the place and buying everything that it can. Zagat. But again, not a big acquisition in terms of dollars. You'd think with such a brand, but big deal, I'd say.
Yeah, big deal. I mean, this is one of those things. I mean, Google, is Google, and they're big and they try lots of things and they experiment with lots of things, and lots of things don't work. Yep. For Google, unfortunately. They tried to do some of what Zagat does in some ways. They tried to do Google offers and copy Groupon, in terms of having the daily deal thing going and all of that. That didn't go so well. They tried to do Yelp in the form of Google Places. We haven't really seen any big adoption of that yet. So I think Google's one of those companies. They try, they experiment, and if it doesn't work, they just buy somebody that can do it. And that's really what I see here. Is Zagat has proven that they know what they're doing here, and Zagat's we talk about companies that are here and out in a hurry, so to speak. These guys are a 32-year-old company.
Yeah.
So they've been at it for a while.
But I don't think they could make the transition, right? They missed this whole boat, and Zagat did. And I think as all these other companies were kind of flourishing around them, we didn't hear a lot about Zagat. And and it's much more of a traditional play. And so maybe Google can do something here. But this was definitely a big... This is Google really entering the market, saying, oh, listen, hopefully they don't screw this up. How's that?
Yeah.
But again, I don't think... I've heard rumors, anything around $60 million for this. It was a small buy for a 32-year-old company in this space with all that data. So, again, not a big acquisition for Google. I mean, they just spent $12 billion buying Motorola. So $60 million is like basically, what? Like 1/80th of the breakup fee of that deal. So it's... But you're right. These guys, Google tries at least. But the challenge that they have is that they're not a very good consumer-facing company. So we've talked about this, I think, on 30 of the 42 episodes, that Google could do this. They have the engineering talent. And I think that they're starting to turn it around, on the user interface side. But they're not a really good consumer-facing company. And maybe this will bring that culture into the company as well.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll watch and we'll see what happens and see whether they're able to integrate this and make it useful, within the Google realm.
We hope so.
The one thing, the other one, we didn't talk about this before, Rob, but one other deal that popped onto my radar this week is our good friends at Buy With Me are at it again. So they've done their 6th acquisition this year. So we talked about them, in the last few episodes. They bought Scoop Street, they bought Swoop, they bought Local Twist, they bought, a whole bunch of companies. And this week they bought Town Hog.
Town Hog.
Town Hog. So another group buying daily deal site acquired by Buy With Me.
It's, I mean, this is definitely a roll up, right? All these
totally
companies.
roll up. I mean, these guys are just going after all those small to mid-sized players and putting them all together and saying, hey, there's Groupon, there's Living Social, and us, and we're going to be the only three.
Well, and I like it because they're going hyper local, right? Which is which is the right way to do this. So Buy With Me buys Town Hog.
Yeah.
I like the name Town Hog though. All right. So we got three acquisitions. TelNav acquires Goby. Google acquires Zagat, and Buy With Me buys Town Hog. So this was the basically the consolidation and acquisition deals this week.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the product. This is a UK-based product, and the only thing going through my head is Wally Eve. Is that how you say it? Double E-V-E?
Yeah, it's just called Eve with two E's at the start. So
Eve. Well, so what is this company, and what's so important about this?
Well, the tagline out there is, or at least the story is that Eve does what color couldn't.
Yes.
And so this is all about collaborative photo experiences. And so, we talked about color when they launched. These guys launched with big fanfare, big leadership, big money, $41 million, and couldn't do anything with it. Nobody signed up, really. They didn't get much user base.
They got a lot of press.
There are lots of press, but not a lot of users. So they're already in pivot mode. Apparently, they're working on something new over at Color, and so out comes Eve. And so Eve is a little bit different than Color. It's about collaborating and sharing photos, in a collection that are based on a location. And so you're at a conference, or you're at a party, or you're out with a group of friends, or wherever you are. You set up something called an Eve, and basically, all the photos, from your mobile device are collaborated, and you then can tell a story about them, by tagging them and putting notes associated with them. And so it's interesting. And then others who are out there in the Eve community can eavesdrop on these things called Eves. And they're able to comment on them, but they can't contribute to them. Only the people who are at that location can contribute.
I like the idea of color. I like the idea of this. I like telling stories through pictures. Interesting to see how this plays. But I love the different perspectives of the same event, and stitching together a story that you can come back to later on and relive in ways. This will be interesting to see if it is able to do what Color couldn't do. And who knows what happens with these guys. But there is a play here in shared experiences this way. And it's whether it's going to be photos or videos or a combination of them or even text.
Yeah.
But I like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other thing that when I was digging into it that's kind of interesting about it is that apparently an Eve is temporary. And so, photos get uploaded to it, based on location. But if there's no contribution to it after a few hours, it's basically locked.
Oh, really?
And nothing else can be contributed to it. So it basically ceases, accepting new photos to it. People can still comment and talk about it, but it's basically done from that perspective.
So, what do you think that is about?
Well, I think it's about it's about locking, and Eve is about an experience. So it's about an event in time.
So, but if you set something up, wouldn't you want it to actually stay around a little bit longer than?
Well, I think you create another one. No, like it doesn't disappear.
Okay.
It's still there. You can't add new photos to it.
Okay. Well, I'm desperately, it sounds very familiar to another technology that is out there, but I'll find it. This is something that if something like $42 million couldn't solve, do you think that these guys have the ability to solve that?
Well, I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. We got to wait and see.
All right.
So, but I like that they're trying.
So do I. I love the fact that these guys are at least out there. Yeah, they're not taking the failure of something like
And
Color.
it's an iPhone only app. I downloaded it, so I'm gonna be playing around with it.
So yeah, maybe this Thursday at the event.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a Geom 2 Eve.
Well, I think you should. Why not? Why not, man? All right, that's Eve. That's the product. Let's talk about the resource of the week. This is an interesting Pew research report on mobile, on geo and location, right?
Yes.
And was there anything? This is something that they came out with, saying that 28% of American adults use mobile and social location-based services, which is a higher number than I thought.
Well, I mean, so you got to put this Pew report in context of its previous reports. So Pew came out a year and a half ago and said, I think it was 4% of the U.S. population's using location-based services,
right,
more than once a week. Then they came out with a report about 6 months later that said it's now 8%. And now we're at 28%.
Yeah.
So the numbers are growing. They're growing pretty quickly here.
Staggering growth.
Yeah. And so I looked at the breakdown. They said, and it shows here that. Hold on, I'm just pulling up a chart. So
I'll do the music if you'd like me to sing.
Location-based services. So this is a cellular phone breakdown. So 12% of all smartphone users use a geosocial check-in service such as Foursquare or Gowalla.
They're still using Gowalla. Like, they got to stop using Gowalla.
12% of all smartphone users.
Yeah.
Okay. This is U.S. data. 55% of all smartphone users get location-based directions and recommendations. Yeah. So, I mean, this is significant numbers, showing growth in the space.
Well, it really is, and it shouldn't be a single surprise, right? If you own a smartphone, in fact, what the surprise is that there's 45% of the people out there who don't use it for proximity or location or directions. I mean,
yeah,
I'm in Toronto, and which way am I pointing? And I pull up Google Maps. So it's pretty astounding that people don't use their phones for that. Maybe they don't know that they can use their phones.
The other number in here that was kind of cool, I thought, was they looked at the number of people that use location tagging on social media posts, so like Twitter and things like that. And so that number is at 14% of all social media users use automatic location tagging on posts.
And that is going to balloon.
Yeah.
Because I think this week Twitter released their actual active user list of the number of people that are actually actively using Twitter. And somewhere around the realm of 100 million people are actively using Twitter. Mm-hmm. And 55% of those people that are using it are doing it from a mobile device, are interacting with it from a mobile device. And right. I think that when you start to think about the amount of tagged posts through Twitter, you've not only got the nervous system of the internet in Twitter as it is, but you've also got the nervous system of location data for every post that somebody's putting through Twitter. So that number is going to accelerate beyond 14% pretty quickly. Pretty cool.
That's it.
Pew Research Report.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll link to that obviously on the show notes. Look up.
Yeah, we'll throw it up on our research page on the site.
Okay. Yeah, and that's it. What a week, man. I like it. I like these stories. It's a good pace with these stories because they bring out a little bit of fire, and I think that especially the one around Ronhill.
No, Rob, you're not going to smoke again.
No, exactly. The only reason I don't smoke, and it's the God's honest truth. It has nothing to do with my kids. It has nothing. Well, it does, but it doesn't. It's the fact that it was so hard to quit. I never want to go through that again. So I'm going to start when I'm 65. My kids are all grown and moved out. By that time, I figure I'll start smoking again. That's it. Number 42, done. Man, that's 42 consecutive weeks, by the way. That's got to be like an all-time record for something. Maybe Leo Laporte has the record, but 42 consecutive weeks for this show. We appreciate the fact that you guys have tuned into every single one, haven't you? If not, you can find them wherever you have found this podcast. The LBMA has a great archive of them all, just listed there for you to go and check it out, or of course on tether.tv. But we really appreciate the fact that you do this. You participate. There have been
we
more
love the comments and the retweets and everything that comes out there. So thanks for all of that, guys.
We love the love. That's what we're saying. It's like a group location-based hug, which is what we're looking for. We'll be here next week, and it gets a little hectic for travel for both of us after that, but we will endeavor to get this done. We will not miss a week. It is our solemn oath. But that's it for 42. Anything else? Did I miss anything?
That's it. You got it.
All right. Thank you guys for watching or listening wherever you are. Asif, thanks for doing this. As usual, we'll see you next week on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Later.